Good morning. Well, we had a wonderful Easter last week. I am so glad that we get to celebrate Easter. We had so much fun with the kids downstairs and just celebrating that Jesus is alive. That's awesome. However, that didn't leave a whole lot of time for BGMC. So this week is our BGMC week for April. So yay for BGMC. We are going to be hearing about the country of Brazil. God is doing a lot in the country of Brazil. I found it was very interesting to see how big Brazil is. I believe it was the fifth largest country in the world by landmass, and I didn't know that. So we're going to be hearing about the country of Brazil. There's 2 videos that we're going to be watching and seeing what God is doing.
Hey, I'm Tessa, and welcome to Go 360. This month, we want to show you a music video from a children's ministry in Brazil. The ministry is run by missionary Terry Johnson. Before we watch the video, let's meet Terry and find out a little about this ministry. What kind of things do you guys do with your children's ministries?
Our children's ministry is called Children of Brazil Outreach. We call it COBO for short. And COBO works with the children in Brazil, primarily the poor children. We hold kids' crusades in our circus tent. We also conduct Bible classes, hold Bible classes in the schools, and we also build Christian schools and daycare centers for the poor children.
Did you say a circus tent? You guys don't really have circuses, do you?
Not actually. What we do is we have this tent that we set up, and we bring the kids to the tent by bus from the schools. And they will sit through a 2-hour crusade rally where we have a team of clowns, ventriloquists, magicians, people who do puppets and people who do drama. And they do all this to tell the kids about Jesus and then ask them if they want to accept Jesus into their life.
I've heard in the public schools that the kids get Christian education. Is that true?
That's true, because a number of years ago, the law was changed that would allow us to go into the schools to teach the Bible, which you can't do anymore in America. But by law, we can do that in Brazil. And COBO provides the Bible curriculum, the books that the kids use to study the Bible. And right now, we have 25,000 kids in 110 schools throughout Brazil who are studying in our Bible classes.
Neat. You said something about building schools. Do you guys actually build your own schools? Or?
COBO has built 12 schools and daycare centers in the poor neighborhoods of the cities throughout Brazil. We build them in poor neighborhoods where the kids can't go to school, and we build these schools that right now have about 4,000 students, and every day these kids come to receive a free education. They are taught the Bible, they receive free clothing, free meals. Often it's the only meal that they will have that day because their family is so poor. And everything is given free so that we can help them and we can tell them about Jesus.
Now, let's check out the music video. Hey, I'm Tessa, and welcome to Go 360.
God provides. No rain had fallen for a long, long time. As a result, the crops were drying up and dying. If rain didn't come soon, there would be no food for the people to eat. Days passed and still no rain. Finally, missionary Orla Spencer Boyer needed to get food for his family. They were missionaries in the northeastern part of Brazil, and the food in their home was almost gone. Missionary Boyer knew something had to be done, so he set out on his mule in search of food. He traveled for several days until he finally found a sack of rice and a sack of beans that he could buy. He loaded up the food on his mule and headed back home. As he arrived in the town, he could see the looks on the people's faces as they saw him carrying food on his mule. He had food. They had none. Where could they get food? They had no money and no crops because there was no rain. They would starve. Missionary Boyer knew he didn't have enough food to feed everyone in town. All he could do was pray. Missionary Boyer and his family prayed to God for a miracle. Somehow, some way, God needed to provide food for the starving people of this town. As they were praying, Missionary Boyer heard God tell him to put the sack of beans and the sack of rice in the window of his home. He then was to tell the people in the town to come and get what they needed to feed their families. This would mean that his family would have less to eat, but he knew God had spoken and he wanted to obey God. The 2 bags of food weren't enough to feed the whole town, but the missionary trusted God for a miracle. What would God do? As the people lined up at the missionary's house, food was given out to each person. At the end of the day, the sacks were still full. Missionary Boyer could hardly believe his eyes. For hours he had given out rice and beans from the sacks, yet the sacks were still full. God had done a miracle. The next day, people started lining up again for more food. All day long, food was given out to the people. Yet, at the end of the day, the sacks were still full. This continued day after day, and the sack of rice and the sack of beans never emptied. This continued for over a month until the rains came and the crops started to grow again. God miraculously provided for his people. Their lives were spared because God provided food for them to eat. God showed the people of that town that he was real and that he loved them. Many people started to follow Jesus because of this great miracle that happened.
I thought that was a pretty cool story. God does amazing things. So that is our lesson about Brazil this week. Thank you so much for contributing to BGMC, and we are going to have the bucket out in the back this week if you'd like to give to BGMC, and just praise God for what he's doing all over the world.